What if I told you that the key to the deepest realms of your being, to states of consciousness we barely touch in dreams, is not found in distant temples or complicated rituals, but in a place as intimate and accessible as the palm of your hand? A forgotten spot just behind your ear? It is a whisper from the cosmos, a revelation that the rush of the modern world has drowned out, but whose echo persists in the deepest memory of our flesh, a vestige of the ancestral wisdom that ancient cultures guarded with sacred zeal. We are not talking about ethereal mysticism, but a truth embedded in the very architecture of your existence, an invisible switch capable of revealing the true power of your own self-regulation. Imagine, for a moment, that the incessant din of Va, our mind, that constant tide of thoughts and worries that drags us far from stillness, could be calmed with a simple touch. That the path to unshakable peace, to a healing that emanates from within, were not an unattainable pipe dream, but a possibility within reach of your finger. This point, a mere bony prominence known as the mastoid process, far from being just a part of your cranial anatomy, has been recognized by the hidden mysteries of various traditions as a portal, a gateway to dimensions of profound calm and altered states of consciousness. Think of it as a nexus, an ethereal anchor that connects your individual consciousness to the vast currents of cosmic energy, allowing your being to attune to higher frequencies of existence, dot in the annals of time, before knowledge was parceled. Out and compartmentalized, there existed a unified understanding of the body as a microcosm of the universe. Alchemists, in their quest to transmute not just lead into gold, but raw being into spiritual gold, understood that every point in the body was a receptacle of power, an energetic node waiting to be activated. The mastoid region, with its proximity to vital nerve centers, was considered a turning point, a master key to inner alchemy, that sacred process of transforming affliction into peace, chaos into harmony. But how is it possible that such profound and transformative knowledge has been lost, or worse, deliberately hidden? What forces were at work to cause this simple yet powerful truth to fade from our collective consciousness? There are echoes in the forbidden texts, in forgotten codices, and in the oral traditions of almost extinct lineages, which speak of this area as the Valley of Stillness or the Point of Ecstasy. This was not a simple technique, but a profound veneration of one's own physiology as a path to spiritual enlightenment. Imagine shamans, ancient yogis, and hermit monks not only meditating, but employing a conscious touch, almost a ritual, at this precise point to induce trances, to travel through the veils of reality, to access the Akasha, or simply, as we will, see later, to dissolve the knot of anxiety and stress that grips modern life. This is the beginning of a journey that will lead you to question what you thought you knew about your own body and its latent capabilities. A journey towards self-healing beyond the physical, delving into the mysteries of your own consciousness. But what is this nerve hidden beneath the skin, capable of orchestrating such a symphony of calm and healing? And how did ancient cultures, without modern technology, understand its power in a way we are only just beginning to rediscover? The answer to your question about which nerve hides beneath the skin and how ancient civilizations unlocked such power lies less in a single nerve, and more in a neural and energetic crossroads, a veritable vortex of forgotten ancient wisdom. The mastoid area, with its proximity to the vagus nerve and a complex tangle of nerve branches that connect directly to the parasympathetic nervous system, is in fact a gateway to profound serenity. Think of the vagus nerve as the great river of calm winding throughout the body, and the mastoid region as one of its most accessible and powerful springs, an anchoring point that, with a conscious touch, can guide this current into a flood of peace. Ancient cultures didn't possess microscopes or neurological knowledge like we do today, but they did possess a profound intuition, a keen perception of the unity between body, mind, and spirit, Understanding came from observation, meditative practice, and ancient rituals passed down from word of mouth, often in secret, through lineages that preserved the hidden mysteries of existence. It's no coincidence that we find traces of this understanding in forbidden texts, in alchemical manuscripts that refer to ascension points or keys of consciousness, and in shamanic traditions that employed specific touches to the skull to induce trance states and visions. They knew that the body was not just flesh and bone, but a temple, a map, a portal dot. This was not a simple relaxation technique, but an act of inner alchemy. By activating this region, they transmuted the vibration of fear and agitation into a frequency of acceptance and expansion. It was the manifestation of a universal principle. The universe bends to the subtle touch when the intention is pure and the understanding is deep. Civilizations like the Egyptians, with their priests and priestesses who understood the subtle anatomy of the being, or the yogis of ancient India, who mapped the nadis and chakras, understood that certain areas of the body were more than mere tissues. They were resonators, amplifiers of the cosmic energy that permeates everything. There are whispers and fragments of Coptic papyrus and in obscure passages of the Rig Veda that, while not naming the mastoid directly, describe the activation of points behind the ear or on the sides of the head to awaken the eye of perception and calm the storm of the mind. For them, this touch was a catalyst for spiritual enlightenment, a method of merging with the divine, of experiencing the true nature of being, freed from the bonds of material illusion. It was not a trick, but a profound reverence for the bodies. Innate wisdom, a belief that higher consciousness resides, not only outside of us, but as points of manifestation accessible within our own physical form. The gentle touch that was an invitation for the current of life to flow unobstructed, dissolving the energetic blockages that keep us in a state of disconnection. This knowledge, carefully veiled and often transmitted only to initiates, was considered too dangerous for the populace. Imagine the power of a people who can, with a simple touch, transcend fear and control. It's no wonder such forbidden texts and practices were suppressed, labeled as witchcraft or heresy. But the seeds of truth never die. They merely await the fertile soil of awakening to germinate anew. And that is why today we are beginning to rediscover these paths. But how can we, with our modern and skeptical minds, access the same depths that the ancient masters achieved? What are the practical steps to unlock this invisible switch and unleash its potential in our daily lives? And what other secrets does this area hold beyond mere relaxation that connect us to vaster realities and a deeper understanding of our own multidimensional existence? The key to unlocking this depth lies not in a purely intellectual understanding, but in an openness to the ancient wisdom that flows through us, an echo of ages when the line between the physical and the ethereal was blurred. It is necessary to silence the skeptical mind, not to abdicate it, but to allow a different form of perception to manifest. The Taoist masters, for example, referred to this area, the lower abdomen, as the lower dantian, the elixir field. For them, it was not only a center of vital energy, but the crucible where essence, Jing, energy, Kai, and spirit, Shen, could be refined and transmuted. Through practices of stillness and deep breathing, they sought to cultivate the primordial. Key there, a process they called inner alchemy, converting bodily density into pure cosmic energy, an essential step towards spiritual enlightenment. Ancient Taoist treatises, some considered forbidden texts for centuries due to their content that challenged prevailing orthodoxies, describe detailed techniques for reversing the flow and nourishing the spirit, using this point as an epicenter of regeneration and connection with the Tao. For yogis and practitioners of Tantric Buddhism in India and Tibet, this same area was often associated with the Muladhara or Svadhisthana chakra, the root and sacral energy centers. They understood that the descending flow of life energy, the Apana Vayu, needed to be harmonized with the ascending prana so that the Kundalini, the sleeping serpent of consciousness, could awaken and ascend. This harmonization, facilitated by focus and conscious breathing at this point, was not just a physical practice, but a journey of purification of the mind and ego, dissolving the veils of illusion. The Kriya Yoga tradition, for example, emphasizes the control of prana at this center as a means to achieve altered states of consciousness and transcend the limitations of the physical body. They understood that true freedom lay not in escaping the body, but in mastering it, transforming it into a pure vehicle for the expression of divine consciousness. These hidden mysteries, transmitted from guru to disciple, were often closely guarded because of their transformative potential in the shamanism of various indigenous cultures. From the Amazon to the Siberian plains, this region of the body was seen as a direct portal to non-ordinary realms. The shaman, when entering a trance, often used this area as an anchor point for the soul, allowing their consciousness to travel to the underworld or spirit world, seeking ancestral wisdom, healing, or guidance. It was not an escape, but an expansion of perception, where the physical body became the center of a multi-dimensional universe. Power songs, drums, and power plants were tools to focus attention and cosmic energy on this point, facilitating the journey and protecting the spiritual traveler. These traditions teach us that the body is not just flesh and bone, but a living map of the cosmos. And this particular point is your internal compass, the center of your existential compass. These ancient traditions, though geographically dispersed and culturally diverse, share a common thread that points to the same location in the human body as an epicenter of power and transformation. Whether it's the Danshin of the Tao, the chakras of yoga, or the shamanic portal, they all invite us to look within to an area that modern medicine, in its search for purely material answers, neglects. But what is the true nature of this cosmic energy that the ancients so valued and cultivated? How can activating this point truly generate spiritual enlightenment and transform our daily reality, far beyond what the scriptures of the forbidden texts can describe? What if simple touch and directed intention are just the tip of the iceberg of even greater hidden mysteries waiting to be unraveled? And here, my dear seekers, we reach a fascinating point of convergence where ancient wisdom seems to whisper truths that modern science is only now beginning to decipher. Those ancient masters who spoke of energetic portals and power centers in the body may have been intuiting something we now call the vagus nerve. Imagine this nerve as the grand conductor of your internal orchestra, an ancient neural fiber that snakes from the brainstem through the neck, chest, and abdomen, touching nearly all your vital organs. It is the backbone of your parasympathetic nervous system, the great activator of rest and repair mode. In our frenetic world, we are constantly in alert mode, driven by adrenaline and cortisol, as if running from an invisible predator. The vagus nerve is the master key that turns off this alarm, allowing the body to breathe, digest, heal, and crucially, reconnect. The delicacy of a touch, the apparent simplicity of a gesture on the mastoid area, just behind the ear, reveals one of the most accessible hidden mysteries within our reach. This region is one of the main gateways for vagus nerve stimulation. When you apply gentle pressure, almost a conscious caress, to that area, you are sending a direct signal to the command center that governs your ability to enter deep relaxation. It's not merely muscular relaxation. It's an invitation for every cell of your being to slow down so that the inner alchemy of healing and regeneration can manifest. It's the body remembering its true nature, not as a fighting machine, but as a sanctuary of peace and balance. Think of ancient healing rituals, the cranial manipulations of shamanic healers, Ayurvedic massages involving the head and neck, or even meditation practices that induce deep trance states. Could it be that, without formal knowledge of neuroscience, These practitioners intuitively knew how to activate this internal ignition switch. The stillness that comes from this deep activation of the vagus is not a vacuum, but a space filled with cosmic energy, which was previously dispersed in the chaos of stress. It is in this state of restorative rest that energetic blockages dissolve. Tensions are released, and the body opens to receive and integrate information from more subtle planes. Many forbidden texts and esoteric traditions narrate the importance of a stilled body for the soul's journey, for the expansion of consciousness, and for accessing spiritual enlightenment. They didn't speak of the vagus nerve, of course, but they described its effects. A mind as clear as a waveless lake, a serene heart, and the ability to perceive realities beyond the material veil. The Tantric tradition, for example, emphasizes breath control and bodily stillness as precursors to the awakening of Kundalini, this latent life force. What if the activation of the vagus nerve is, in essence, the physiological gateway to these states of inner alchemy, where cosmic energy is not only felt, but directed toward the transformation of the being? Consider the Tibetan monks who practice Tummo, generating internal heat in freezing environments, or the yogis who control their autonomic bodily functions. These feats are not mere circus tricks, but manifestations of a profound mastery over one's nervous system, a mastery that begins with the ability to consciously switch between fight or flight and rest and digest modes. Ancient wisdom has always known that true strength lies not in constant agitation, but in the ability to find stillness in the eye of the storm, to polarize cosmic energy through a pacified body and mind. When the alert system is deactivated, the body's resources are redirected toward healing, creativity, and expanded perception, paving the way for a spiritual enlightenment that is not a distant goal, but an accessible state of being. But what happens when this alert mode remains on for too long? Human history is replete with periods of great stress and collective trauma, where humanity as a whole seems to have forgotten how to turn off this alarm. Entire civilizations have perished, not only from external catastrophes, but from internal inability to restore balance, to access this profound inner alchemy that allows regeneration. What if the forgetting of these hidden mysteries, the prohibition or misunderstanding of the forbidden texts, which contain these simple keys, has condemned us to a cycle of anxiety and disconnection? The deep stillness generated by the activation of the vagus nerve is the fertile ground for intuition to flourish, allowing subtle messages from the cosmos to be received without the interference of internal noise. It is a return to the original state of receptivity, where ancient wisdom is not something to be sought outside, but to be rediscovered within. And this leads us to question, if such a simple touch can trigger such a cascade of healing and peace, what else did the ancients know about the body and mind that still lies veiled in symbolism and mystery? What other physiological keys were encoded in their teachings, waiting to be rediscovered by those with eyes to see and the courage to feel? The journey to spiritual enlightenment is perhaps less about ascension and more about returning to our most peaceful essence, an intrinsic state of being, accessible through portals as simple as touch. But how does this deep stillness connect with the true nature of dreams and visions? And what role do our own personal hidden mysteries play in this process? Now, if touch can be this portal, it is not mechanical touch, devoid of presence, that holds such power. It is intentional touch, permeated by slowness and devotion, that transcends the mere surface of the skin to become a sacred ritual. Imagine that the body, in its ancient wisdom, is a palimpsest of memories and sensations, where every cell resonates with the experience of millions of years of existence. Touch with intention speaks directly to this primordial memory, an archaic language that the conscious mind has often forgotten, but that the body never has. It is a pre-verbal communication, a whisper of safety and love that deactivates the deepest alarms of the nervous system, those that scream danger even when they're is no visible threat. The hidden mysteries of human physiology reveal that this slowness and devotion are not mere whims, but essential requirements for cosmic energy to flow without barriers, harmonizing internal vortices and nourishing the bioenergetic field. Consider the ancient priests and healers, whose hands were not merely instruments of intervention, but channels of pure intention. They touched not to manipulate, but to acknowledge, to honor, to realign. That touch was an act of reverence, a wordless prayer, a seal of trust that unlocked the individual's own innate healing capacity. In many forbidden texts, those that were marginalized or codified in inaccessible languages, we find references to these practices, described not as therapies in the modern sense, but as ceremonies of initiation into life itself. They understood that spiritual enlightenment was not merely a flight of the mind, but a deep rooting in the body, an inner alchemy that transformed anxiety into stillness, fear into security, fragmentation into wholeness. The body, in this context, was not a prison to be transcended, but a temple to be fully inhabited, the keys to which lay in the simplest yet most profound interactions. These keys were often passed from master to disciple through touch, a gesture that sealed a pact of trust and a transfer of tacit knowledge. It wasn't about learning a technique, but about embodying a presence. The devotion in this ritualistic touch isn't directed to an external god, but to the sacredness of life itself that pulses within each being, a devotion to the truth that we are intrinsically safe and capable of profound peace. When the palm of the hand connects with the skin, with the clear intention of nourishing, calming, and restoring, it's as if a river of cosmic energy, previously dammed by tension and stress, begins to flow freely, irrigating parched lands within us. This is the essence of inner alchemy, transforming the lead of agitation into the gold of serenity, using conscious touch as a catalyst. Ancient wisdom whispers that time spent in this slow, devotional touch is an investment in our own inner sovereignty. It is not time wasted, but time gained for the integration of soul and body. From this emerges a spiritual enlightenment that is not abstract, but visceral, an understanding that resides not in the mind, but in the bones, the muscles, the very fiber of our being. But if intentional touch can reconnect us to this archaic language of the body, to our own essence of security and peace, how does this reconnection affect our perception of external reality and our interactions with the world beyond ourselves? And what other hidden mysteries await us when we learn to read the silent language of the universe, which manifests itself not only in touch, but in every vibration of existence? If intentional touch reconnects us to this archaic language of the body, to our very essence of safety and peace, then the answer to the question of how this reconnection affects our perception of external reality and our interactions with the world beyond ourselves lies in a deeper understanding of what it truly means to rest. For the silent language of the universe, the one that manifests itself in every vibration of existence, has one of its most powerful whispers in the very necessity and sacredness of rest. Modern society, in its voracity for production and incessant activity, erects altars to exhaustion, glorifying tiredness as an emblem of dedication and success. But this is a dangerous distortion, an inversion of ancient wisdom, which has always recognized rest not as laziness or a character flaw, but as a vital stage, a fundamental pillar of existence and regeneration, as essential as effort itself. Think of the cycles of nature, the unwavering rhythms of the cosmos. Night follows day, winter precedes spring, the soil rests to become fertile again. There is an intrinsic physiology, an innate intelligence of body and spirit that yearns for this profound pause. This is not merely a biological necessity. It is a cellular wisdom, an ancestral memory inscribed within each of us, silenced by silenced. The cacophony of the external world. What we call deep rest is actually a form of inner alchemy, where the body when allowed to slow down and let go, initiates a process of subtle transmutation. It releases accumulated tensions, processes information, rebalances systems, and most importantly, opens itself to an energetic recharge that transcends mere physical recovery. It is a dive into the womb of being, where the dissolution of the ego and everyday concerns allows the emergence of new vigor, of renewed clarity. This practice of honoring rest is one of the hidden mysteries that the great spiritual traditions have always cultivated. It was not an escape, but an encounter. In many lineages of forbidden texts, those marginalized for their unproductive or contemplative nature in eras of hyper-rationalization, we find references to periods of silence, of retreat, of intentional sleep, or deep meditation, seen as portals to spiritual enlightenment. The ancient Egyptian sages, for example, saw sleep not as a state of unconsciousness, but as a journey of the soul to other planes, an opportunity for the lower mind to silence and the ancient wisdom of the spirit to emerge. They understood that the flow of cosmic energy is not only about action, but about absorption. That true power arises from emptiness, from the space between heartbeats, between thoughts. When we surrender to this kind of rest, we are not only recharging our physical batteries, we are realigning our energy field, attuning ourselves to higher frequencies. The ancient alchemists, in their search for the philosopher's stone, spoke of the nigredo, phase, darkness, putrefaction, and collapse as an indispensable stage for transformation. Without this descent to the depths, without dying to be reborn, the gold of true consciousness could not be forged. And this alchemy is not restricted to the external laboratory. It occurs within us. Deep rest is our voluntary nigredo, a surrender that allows the obsolete to disintegrate and the essential to crystallize. But what happens when this spiritual enlightenment, gestated in the sanctuary of rest, begins to manifest in our waking? Ours? How does our worldview change when we are no longer driven by chronic fatigue, but by an inexhaustible source of cosmic energy that we learn to access? What if the glorification of exhaustion is not just a social failing, but a subtle mechanism to keep us disconnected from this inner source, distanced from the hidden mysteries that rest would reveal to us? The answer to this question, dear seeker, lies in the conscious application of the ancient wisdom that flows from rest. It's not just about sleeping more, but about reintegrating sleep and the very essence of stillness as an active spiritual practice. How then can we bring this truth into the fabric of our daily lives, transforming each night into a portal and each moment of exhaustion into an invitation to inner alchemy? First, I invite you to transcend the mere routine of going to bed. Create a sacred nighttime ritual. Think of the ancient Egyptian temples of sleep, where priests prepared themselves with incense and chants before seeking divine visions in the dream realms. Your bed is not just a piece of furniture. It is an altar for the regeneration of the soul. Your bedroom, a personal sanctuary. Before retiring, clear the space, light a candle, and breathe deeply. This is not a farewell to the day, but a greeting to the night, an acknowledgement of its sacredness as a domain where spiritual enlightenment is cultivated. Let the touch of the sheet against your skin be a reminder of the protective mantle the universe extends over you. Next, the art of intention. Before the veil of sleep fully unfolds, clearly articulate what you seek. It is not a mere wish, but a command to your deepest self, a seed planted in the fertile soil of the subconscious. May this rest purify me of all that no longer serves. May it transmute anxiety into peace, fatigue into vital cosmic energy. May I reconnect with the source of all ancient wisdom, receiving clarity and guidance. This practice is a master key to unlocking the hidden mysteries that await you. The forbidden texts of the ancient Hermetic magicians often described pre-visualization, or imposition of intention, as a crucial step before any rite of manifestation. And sleep is, in itself, the most powerful of daily rites. As you transition into stillness, remain present to the touch. Feel the weight of your body on the surface, the gentle in and out breath. Allow gravity to anchor you. Allow stillness to envelop you. There's no need to fight the thoughts that arise. Simply observe them like passing clouds. This is the moment of true inner alchemy, where consciousness expands beyond the limits of the ego. By feeling your body, you are attuning your own frequency to the vast network of cosmic energy, becoming a more receptive vessel for the spiritual enlightenment that rest offers. Every cell aligns, every fiber cones, preparing the ground for the revelations to come. This same art of rest can be an immediate balm for anxiety. When your mind is agitated, don't try to force calm. Instead, find a quiet place, close your eyes, and surrender to presence. Feel your body, even if it's trembling, and breathe deeply, imagining that each inhalation brings a gentle wave of cosmic energy, and each exhalation releases tension. This is an ancient wisdom technique used by monks and shamans to rebalance the energy field in times of turbulence. The hidden mysteries of conscious breathing are so powerful that they can alter your body's chemistry and your brain's frequency, transforming chaos into serenity. This is not an escape, but a courageous dive into the depths of your own being, where peace resides. And this gift of stillness and spiritual enlightenment shouldn't be confined to you alone. Share this ancient wisdom with your loved ones. Create a goodnight ritual for children, reading calming stories, or simply sitting quietly with them, breathing together before they fall asleep. The loving touch, the attentive presence before sleep not only calms them, but also plants the seed of this inner alchemy within them from an early age. Entire families in ancient times practiced transitional rites for sleep, not only for safety, but to strengthen the spiritual bond and share cosmic energy. When rest becomes a communal act, harmony multiplies, creating an energetic field that uplifts everyone. The oral transmission of forbidden texts and secret teachings often occurred in these hours of vulnerability and receptivity before the conscious mind erected its barriers. By integrating these rituals and intentions into your life, you're not just seeking more restful sleep. You're reactivating a dormant part of your consciousness, unlocking the hidden mysteries that modern society has taught you to ignore. Each night becomes a journey of self-discovery, a dive into the vast ocean of cosmic energy, a dialogue with the ancient wisdom that echoes through time. And awakening, then, is not just the end of darkness, but the ascension of a new understanding, a spiritual enlightenment that permeates every waking moment. But what happens when this nocturnal wisdom begins to speak? What if dreams are not mere residues of the day, but coded messages from a realm beyond, an invitation to decipher the very codes of the universe? Therefore, may each plunge into the darkness of the night be a return to your own inner sanctuary, a portal to wisdom that transcends time and space. True alchemy lies not in transforming metals, but in transmuting your own perception of reality, recognizing that the mysteries of the cosmos reveal themselves in the deepest recesses of your soul. Consider, what whispers from the cosmos has your soul been trying to send you through the veil of sleep? If this revelation resonated with you, share it so that other seekers may find their way. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future insights. The journey of decipherment doesn't end here. To continue delving deeper into this discovery, click on the recommended video and discover how to interpret dream symbols, decoding the keys to your own cosmic consciousness.